Well, what a way to start the day. A very serious accusation made by Enrique Riquelme in Barcelona against Florentino and the Real Madrid he presides over. At a time when Barca was sinking, they were practically knocked out. And did he say this to Jordi Basté on Rack 1? Florentino helped FC Barcelona with 400 million euros in financing. The Real Madrid presidential candidate accused the current president of aiding Barca during their financial troubles, likely referring to the well-known levers. And that idea is what allowed Barca to start coming up for air because they were drowning. And everything would have come from the mind of Anas Lagari, whom Enrique Riquelme has talked about quite a lot during this election campaign. Welcome, how are you doing? This adds to what happened last night on El Larguero, confirming Raúl González Blanco, and we thought it was Hierro who confirmed Raúl González Blanco, and we thought it was Hierro. As sporting director of Real Madrid, if he is elected president of the club, he said it like this. This way, by the way, this really made me laugh. Now let's listen to what Riquelme said about Raúl. Riquelme is in Barcelona and will later be in Seville. Tony Brown Petrelli, who is a very funny Twitter user, says, go to aracun.com and then think about the giants who might have been advising Enrique Riquelme as if it were the best idea, right? Going to Barcelona and, well, I hope he doesn't run into any giants, but anyway. Anyway, the point is that the campaign is picking up speed, and here we are. Well, of course, Barcelona was a place he might not have visited, right? Watch out. There are many Real Madrid fans in Barcelona, but probably fewer than Barcelona fans in Madrid. But anyway, he chose to go there this morning and then in the afternoon to Seville to keep moving forward with his campaign and drop bombs like that, which will get a response from Florentino Perez. But come on, 400 million. Look, this just sounds really bombastic. But if it all comes down to him giving the idea about the levers and that the mastermind in Seville is behind those levers, it's Anas, Lagar, and so on, it was something we already knew. We just didn't have it quantified in those amounts. But honestly, I already knew this. And besides, we've been complaining about this for a long time. Also, the fact that we didn't go for the jugular against Barça when the Negreira case first broke. We were involved with Laporta and the Super League and also helped with Dani Olmo's registration. But these three things are already known. And as a strategy, Enrique Riquelme's campaign strategy, to go a little further towards the end, to be tougher. Well, look, here, everyone, watch out. Florentino, without mentioning Riquelme, we already heard him yesterday. He's talking about the project. Since it was outdated, like in a plot of land worth $1 billion, putting swings there like it was paddle courts and pools and so on. I mean, they're going hard, but I think here Riquelme is hitting the most painful spot, maybe even for Florentino's own supporters. And I have been one all my life, so what the president has done in recent years helping Barca has hurt us more. It's just that, well, but anyway, let's always understand this from the point of view that it's very difficult in such a polarized society. Real Madrid and its fan base have become highly polarized. That you can praise and support a candidate, especially Florentino Perez, in many things and criticize him in others. No, that thing of, no, he's my president, whatever he does is fine, well, that's it. Well, anyway, everyone will go through life with that way of thinking, but there are many of us who don't, fortunately, know. Fortunately, I say, you can criticize Florentino Perez despite all the very good things he has done. And he has everything it takes to win in this electoral process, as it couldn't be any other way. Because the past, not just the last 2 years, but the previous one and the recent one as well, I mean, it backs him up. But of course, well, yesterday, Enrique Riquelme, and I don't know how many votes this will bring because Raúl is very loved at Real Madrid, of course, but I don't know. Often when I surveyed about him as a coach, many weren't convinced. I'm not sure if it's the same for sporting director. But the fact is that he has already brought in a legend for his candidacy. This is what he said on El Larguero.
The president of the Chicago Bulls, yes. Who would he have as sporting director?
Man, Michael Jordan would be good. I mean, I don't know if he'd do as well as he did on the court, but he'd surely do well.
But you'll see what the players think, right? There likely won't be anyone with more games. So for this project and Real Madrid's current situation, we need to return to those values, that Madrid spirit, that DNA, and have someone who can carry it forward, a Real Madrid legend. It has to be a legend, accompanied by great professionals and a Real Madrid legend. So who? Someone who has played at Real Madrid for 16 seasons, more than 740 matches, more than 300 goals. And internationally, more than 100 times. So I think there's no one who knows the White House, Real Madrid, better, and that's the person we've chosen.
But with those stats, there's only one.
He's the person we've chosen as Real Madrid's sporting director, and the more I get to know him, the more confident I am we made the right choice to lead Real Madrid's upcoming sports project.
And I wasn't saying the name yet.
I'd prefer you to say the name so I don't make a mistake.
Mr. Raúl González Blanco.
And 741 matches, Javi Blanco tells me the player with the most matches.
I checked the cheat sheet, but don't recall the number. Still, he's played the most matches in Real Madrid's history.
You're sporting director if you win the elections.
And if I am president of Real Madrid, Mr. Raúl González Blanco will be the sporting director of Real Madrid.
All right.
All right, so there was Raúl. Talking about Raúl, Raúl has worked for Florentino, well, as a player, of course, and as the coach of Castilla. Whenever there were predictions about who would replace, well, Ancelotti when he was struggling the most, or Xabi Alonso and so on, it was always, well, Raúl had already left, right? When Xabi Alonso was there, that's right. But it definitely wasn't Raúl. I mean, in the predictions, he was never there because it was always like, Florentino, yes, he has Raúl there and all, but Florentino doesn't believe in Raúl. And it could be, there are people who are saying now, this is revenge, this is something, he's resentful. Raúl, look, Raúl, the man leaves there and says, look, with Florentino, but I'm never going to coach Real Madrid. This guy calls me, offers me the possibility to go in there for now as sporting director. And man, well, everyone is free to choose. They're saying some unbelievable things to Raúl right now. They're killing Casillas. They're killing him and saying you're going to call him the mole and I don't know what else. But what have we become? What are we doing? Killing. We're destroying Real Madrid legends who gave everything for this jersey, even if they made mistakes. Of course, they might have been toxic at some point, sure, but this hatred and this whole thing, honestly, it blows my mind. But anyway, I've talked about it in other videos, and I don't want to keep going on about it. Pay attention to what was also said this morning, what El Confidencial is reporting, Enrique Riquelme, what El Confidencial is reporting, which he hasn't said. He's strengthening his board and not in Paris, showing his card for Real Madrid. There aren't any names there, but it's being said that, of course, Haaland's camp, and Florentino Perez already said it yesterday. He said the other candidate comes out with a name and so on, and the representative tells us no. But of course, he has never mentioned Haaland's name, and who is the most famous representative? Rafael La Pimenta. It's understood, besides, in the debate they just published, that Haaland's circle would have denied this possibility, stating he would only join Real Madrid if Florentino Perez is president, according to El Debate. But therefore, here we would have to rule out the Norwegian and look for someone in Paris. In Paris, Saint-Germain. But how do you get anyone out of that club right now? Well, we'll find out tomorrow. They say maybe he'll say it tonight. I think Enrique Riquelme is on El Hormiguero tonight, or maybe tomorrow because he'll have to mention names, right? And it's a foreign star. This one is definitely not Spanish. And the thing with Rodri is still a bit unclear because the player hasn't denied it, and it seems clear that he has talked to some of his agents. This information is also talking about the final entry because in the first list they weren't included. Now, yes, a high-ranking official from Iberdrola, David Mesoneros, who is the son-in-law of the president of Iberdrola, Florentino Perez's close enemy, the latter, and Vicente Boluda's son, who was president temporarily, remember, after Calderón, when Calderón was removed because of that scandal at that assembly, and who is, well, the one who said that famous phrase, we're going to see a thrashing at Anfield. Anyway, well, that's it. He reportedly said this morning, I think it was also on Rack 1, or maybe he said that he had contacts with some Barcelona player when asked about it. I mean, he hasn't denied having contacts with some Barcelona player. I don't know what kind of nervousness this might cause in Barcelona. I understand that if Florentino had said it, or if Florentino had been the main person involved, it would definitely be more. But anyway, we'll just leave it at that. And as the last thing in this video, let's talk about this information from the newspaper El Mundo today, where they talk about Real Madrid's holding company. Florentino is working on a new corporate structure that aims to transfer the sports business to a new subsidiary and keep the club as the parent company. What does all this mean? Because we knew about the 5 and all that, but I honestly think I've asked AI to summarize this article for me to try to explain for dummies exactly what Florentino wants to do. We still won't get it, but I think we're getting a little closer to the truth. To give context, today Real Madrid is a members association. It doesn't have shareholders like a regular company. The members are the owners of the club, but they don't own shares that they can buy or sell. And the idea that Florentino would have, remember, this is an article from El Mundo, so be careful. We should always take all this with a grain of salt. Florentino wants to create a new subsidiary company to consolidate much of Real Madrid's business operations. By the way, for the stadium and its operations, one has already been created. That's Real Madrid Estadio, which was managed by Jose Angel Sanchez, who is now free from being convicted over the concert issues, right? The other day, Madrid explained this, and thank goodness, because otherwise it would have been quite unpleasant. Well, that subsidiary company would go on to manage activities like television rights, sponsorships, according to this article, merchandising, commercial exploitation of the Bernabeu, and other football-related businesses. Maintaining Real Madrid, that's what Florentino would also want to do. Perez, maintaining Real Madrid as a members club above that company and selling about 5% of that subsidiary to one or several external investors. Why did he want to do it? Why would Florentino want to do it? To get fresh money. That's what this article is saying. I insist, which Florentino never says. I mean, hey, Florentino, do you need that money? He won't tell you, nor will Real Madrid. But of course, you might end up thinking that. Why? When Madrid builds the stadium, we're told that it's going to lead to a lot of concerts and a lot of income for Real Madrid, but that doesn't happen. And we've had 2 years with no concerts. They say they're going to come back, but at first they told you it was going to be a gold mine, and then it wasn't. No, not at all. But that's just 1% of what you're talking about, of course. There's also a narrative in Madrid. I mean, this has always been the case. We're nothing like Narnia, but you might be promoting that idea even if it's not true. So here they say that Madrid, well, that it gets fresh money in January, of course, but whether Madrid really needs it is what we don't know. They tell us the club is doing very well, but maybe it's not doing so well. He says that if that investor buys that 5%, Madrid would be valued at 10 billion. So that would be 500 million, which of course give them to me. I obviously need them. I mean, that money would be great, right? It's not just about the money it can bring in. It's what I always mention about my situation. If he manages to make each member's share in the club worth $100,000, damn, I mean, come on, I wouldn't even think about it. Me, Florentino forever, obviously, yeah. But it's one thing for them to tell you that, and another for it to actually happen. Just the fact that they don't take you for a fool, that they explain it to you properly, right? Well, that's it. Madrid would get that money, about 500 million. Because if not, consider the following. Think about the following. To know what the club is worth, it would be enough to sell 1% or 0.5%. Why 5? Because 5 is already 500 million, of course. Watch out. They probably avoid saying 10 because it already sounds like something else. But that's the question. So why not a lower percentage then, if it's not because you really need the money? It's a reasonable question. I'm not saying that's how it is. Well, would Real Madrid become a private company? What Florentino says, they insist that it won't. And the argument is, would the club still belong to its members? The members would keep control. The investor would have a very small stake and wouldn't be able to run the club. What critics fear, opponents like Enrique Riquelme see this as the first step toward privatization, worrying that selling 5% now could lead to 10% or 20% later. And little by little, the club ends up looking like a company with investors. And Enrique Riquelme keeps talking about privatization, which to me is exaggerated, and I'm going to explain why. I think that Florentino, at this stage of the game, being the president, Florentino, you can say whatever you want about him, but what does he want? He loves Real Madrid like his own life, almost. And that's even though he's a guy, well, you can see it. I mean, Florentino, as a successful businessman, is a guy who has an ego. He's a guy who, besides, as we're seeing now, we really care about him in many ways. But with the other candidate, whose name he never mentions, Riquelme, he's being arrogant, etc. I mean, Florentino. That's so Florentino. But there's one thing I'm very clear about. At this point, this man wouldn't want to leave us in this mess, saying, yes, I promise you Madrid will still belong to its members, and then not follow through. There's also the Overton window, which I mentioned in one of the previous videos. What seems impossible to you today, tomorrow might not be so impossible. It's like that thing with the frog. Or this frog in the pot of water, you put it in the pot of water. You start heating the water, you keep heating the water, and then it starts feeling really comfortable. In the end, the frog dies, boiled alive because it didn't notice the water heating. Maybe I'm saying this could be similar. I'm not saying it will be, and in fact, I'm already saying that I don't think so. That Florentino is not deceiving us about that. Careful, we've caught him lying before, like with Negreira and Laporta and how fast he acted. That's already been discussed, but I don't think that's happening here. Among other things, because as it says in this article too, the AI summarizes it for me here. It says, why doesn't he just create a sports corporation? It says, because there's a problem. It's a legal gray area. Major historic clubs like Real Madrid remain sports associations, not corporations. To sell part of the club directly, he'd need to make it a sports corporation, which Florentino says he doesn't want. That's why he's looking for this formula of creating a subsidiary where external investment can come in. Of course, Florentino doesn't want to do this. They're racking their brains to come up with something, like we said at the beginning, a subsidiary dedicated to this, so the club doesn't fall behind other clubs in that sense. That's how I understand it. And he's looking for a way, an original formula, so that it can be done legally, so that you don't tell the member it's your 100,000 and then you can never withdraw it. Because what's the point of owning something if it's something you can't sell? I mean, it's your 100,000 and how can I sell this? I do want to sell it. No, you can never sell it. Or they make it so hard for you that you say, then I'm not really the owner of anything. You can't consider yourself an owner if it's something you can't sell. You know what I mean, right? Well, that's it. But I think Florentino wants to do it in a way where the member doesn't. I hope the member won't be deceived. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for your support. Like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. I'm sorry, I'm only making 2 videos right now, maybe 3 tomorrow, since I'm handling the logistics. Regarding my previous video, I'm excited to go to the World Cup. It's going to be an adventure. I'm going back to TV over there in the United States, and well, this is taking up a lot of my time. But anyway, we're still making videos here too, and I appreciate that you're still here on this channel. So that's it. See you in the next one. Bye.